Hi, I'm Wanda Washington, your host. Welcome to How Deep Is Your Beauty, where we discover beauty from the inside out. This series is called A Healthy Scalp is Where Healthy Hair Begins. Throughout this series, we've been discussing scalp and hair health. Today, we're going to focus on the hair strands. Here's a common concern: my hair feels dry no matter what. What if it's how your hair actually receives water or not? True hydration starts deeper than we think. And once you understand how it really works, it changes everything. Today's topic is learn how water deeply hydrates your hair. To join us in this discussion and help break it down, I'm joined by someone who truly understands the science and the soul of healthy hair. Her name is Roselee Mathu. Roselee is CEO of Roselee's Natural Hair Care, loctician educator, and founder of Signature Lock Method. I want to welcome Roselee to the stage. Hi, Roselee.
Hi, Wanda. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing amazing.
Great. So, Rosalie, I've been knowing you for a long time. We always have a really good time when we get together. But now
Yes.
get down to business and teach them how water truly hydrates the hair. But I want them to hear from you because I know all about you and what a great person you is. I know about your passion. I know about your drive. I know that you like to educate and teach people to go to a higher level than where they started. But I
Yes.
want them to hear about that from you and just tell us as much as you want.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
I'm
welcome.
excited to have this conversation with you because we
Mhm.
do have very intellectual and educational conversations. So this is going to be
Yeah.
great. Well, as you said, my name is Roselee Mathu, and I am the owner of Roselee's Natural Hair Care and
Mhm.
the Signature Lock Method. And the Signature
Mhm.
Lock Method is a thought process that allows you to have a six-figure business with 50 clients or less.
That's
And
wonderful. Great.
I'm really just on a mission to help people have businesses that have boundaries, but still make the money that you want. So you want to live the life that you want, that's signature life, but you can have a signature business as well. They can all work together.
I think that's wonderful. I love hearing about that. It sounds like you're trying to get them to make money, relax, and also help your clients be happy with their services. So
All the
that's
things can be possible if you think about it in advance, for sure.
sure, sure. That's a wonderful thing to do. I wish you the best with that. I know you're going to do well. So, this part of the show, before we get started, I like to introduce to you the heart behind the show. Let's go beyond appearances. Let's talk about the deeper layers that matter inside the scalp and different areas of our life. And so that is what I did, is try to come up with this show that shows different parts of what we're concerned about. So this series, A Healthy Scalp is Where Healthy Hair Begins. The point of that is so many of us have been caring for our hair the best day that we can, but without fully understanding the foundation beneath it. This
Mm,
topic matters, and that's just not just how we look, but how we feel and how we carry ourselves throughout the world.
mm.
So let's get into it and
Okay.
try to teach this lesson so everybody can get a meaningful care about what they need to do. You
Okay.
have anything to add to that? I know that.
I agree with everything 100%. I also like that analogy of getting deeper into their hair and also deeper into your life. I might steal that for a lesson one day.
Okay, that's fine. You can still. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring up a slide so they can have a visual of it. Is we're gonna be getting to some scientific stuff. So with that being said, it's best to have some type of visual so they can really get a feel for that. So let me go ahead and get that started. All right. All right. So the first thing I would like to do with the audience is basically explain this graphic that we're looking at, and then we'll go right into the questions. First of all, there's 4 points, you audience, that you want to pay attention to. Look at the blue water droplets. We're going to discuss that and what's why that's there. And then if you look to your right, you'll see the cuticle layer. That is the dark brown area in this photo. And then if you look to your immediate left, you'll see that it says cortex, and that arrow is pointing to a light brown arrow. That's the inner part of the hair strand. And you notice that it's a lot thicker. And there's a reason for that as well. But when you go inside the cortex, you'll see some yellow squiggly lines. Those are the proteins. And you look to the right, you'll see the arrow pointing to the proteins. And then if you look inside the proteins, you'll see water droplets there. All that is going to tell us a story that's going to help you know more about your hair strands and why we're talking about this topic. So, Rosalie, with that being said, we're going to kick it off with asking you to define for us, give us a baseline. What is hydration? We say it a lot, but what does it truly mean?
So the bottom line is hydration is water,
Okay.
period, right? Hydration
Hmm.
is water. It's not oil, it's not conditioner, it's not butters, it is water. And water has the smallest particles to be able to quench the thirst of the hair, right? When you
Hmm.
feel hydrated, your thirst is quenched, right? You can feel it when you drink water and your throat is parched, the hair feels the same way. So
Right.
it's just water. And the process of hydration begins before you apply the shampoo. So the visual is you could allow that your hair is drinking the water before you apply the product. So when you're in the shower,
Good point.
you can lean your head back and saturate the hair prior to putting any shampoo on it, right? And
Hmm.
that process is what allows the hair to be hydrated before you start using the products. And then once the water hits the hair strand, it doesn't automatically sink in, which is why you need to keep your head under there for a minute for the water to make its way down into the hair strand. So this visual is showing us that there are some layers that the water has to go through before it can actually quench the hair's thirst, so to speak, right?
Okay. Wait, that's really good information. So, just to add to that, so water, in a sense, is a source of hydration, and hydration is a result when water penetrates into the hair strand and not just sit on top. And like you said, it is a process for it sinking in. So,
Mhm.
let's move on from that because what we're doing, audience, we're taking you on a journey. So, we want you to stay on this journey with us as we travel through how water deeply hydrates the hair and why it's important to you and what it means to you. So let's talk about the process behind it. How do we apply water into the hair, Rosalie? If you can tell us, where does it go first and how does the water get inside?
Right. So as we can see from the diagram, the cuticle is the outer layer of the hair strand. So the first place that the water hits is the cuticle. And the cuticle opens and closes according to the conditions that it's experiencing. So if the surface of the cuticle has got a whole bunch of buildup and whatnot, then the water can't get in there. But when the
Right.
surface is clean, the water can get in there and it's soaked up into the cuticle, which allows it to lift so that more water droplets can come into the hair strand to the next layer, which is the cortex. But the cuticle is the protective layer that's outside the hair strand, and that's where the water hits first.
Okay, I like that you said protective layer because we're gonna revisit that particular message a little bit later on that the cuticle is a protective layer. And just what I want to add to that, cuticle is protecting the deeper area of the hair. And so we'll address that a little bit later on, but it'll be meaningful later on. So let's move on to our next stop in the journey. So we talked about the water goes into the cuticle, gets past there, but you got to ask yourself, where does it go next? So where does the water go next, Rosalie? And tell us about the impact of when it gets to the second area, what it does, how does it feel, what does it look, how does it behave, and why is it important?
So as we mentioned before, that so the water's going to hit the cuticle layer, it's going to absorb, right? Water it doesn't force its way into the hair. It lifts the cuticle,
It
and
does.
then the gates, so to speak, are open for the water to hit the next layer, which is the cortex. And the cortex is the thickest layer, right? And it's protecting the proteins that are underneath there because those are delicate, right? So
Right.
the cortex is protecting the outer layer. I mean, it's protecting the inner proteins, and this is what gives the hair its structure, its elasticity, all that movability that we are wanting to our hair to experience. This is where the structure of the hair is, or the integrity of the hair is maintained. So, can you that make sense, right?
That makes perfect sense. So what I want to say is that sometimes I like to apply some real life application to this as well. Does your clients ever say to you, I really like how my hair feels when it's wet because it gets fuller.
Yep.
So that feeling that they're experiencing, that
Mm-hmm.
is when you know the hair has passed into the cortex area because that water has absorbed into the proteins and like a sponge in
Mm-hmm.
it, the outer appearance is that fullness that they're feeling. That's one sign of knowing that the hair has been hydrated.
Right.
So what I hear you saying is and also want to say is what you just explained to the audience is this is true hydration versus artificial hydration. In the beginning, you said we're not talking about butters, we're not talking about oils, we're not talking about fat. Oftentimes, so the difference between true hydration and artificial hydration,
Mm-hmm.
putting oil on dry hair or putting conditioner on dry hair, it feels soft, it looks shiny, you think it's hydrated. No, that's a big red X. It's not hydrated. It looks good, feels good, but it's not truly hydrated and giving the hair strands what it needs to really stay hydrated. So just wanted to make that point next.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit more about the proteins because this is where it gets really important and addresses some of the questions. What is one of the one? Can you think of a question your clients ask you often that comes up more than anything else?
Yeah, what the main question is usually like, why does the hair feel so dry? Or that when they wanted to do certain things, it won't do it, right? But really, it's always about the way the hair feels, that dryness that it feels. So as we're talking about the proteins, those are
Yes.
the building blocks, right, of hair strand, and those proteins are hydrophilic, which means that they love water, they are attracted to water. So the feeling that you get when your hair's feeling all dry and whatnot is because those proteins are not getting the water that they need. And so proteins that are lacking water lack flexibility, right? They're
Mhm.
rigid, they're stiff, and the hair just doesn't behave as softly and smoothly and move around the way that you would want it to if the proteins are lacking water. So
So,
the
good
bottom
point.
line for you is to make sure that the water that you apply to the hair is enough for it to penetrate the different layers in order to get to the proteins, because that's where the lasting hydration is going to happen, because those the proteins are satisfied with the amount of water that they're receiving so that they can function.
Okay, that is very good point. Bottom line is that the hair needs water. It has to penetrate through the cuticle to the cortex into the proteins. And as you can see with this visual here, you see the yellow squiggly lines, which are your proteins, and how the water is lying nicely inside of it. With that being said, that water is absorbing into that protein area, like I said earlier, like a sponge. But I want to ask you this, Rosalie, does the protein, we got it in, we did the work to get it in, but will the water, which is hydration, will it stay in the protein area just as it is at this moment?
No, so the flow of things coming in and out of the hair strand, the water is coming in and evaporating out. So that cycle is always going on with the cuticle opening and closing,
Right,
allowing the water droplets to make their way to the proteins. And we can think about it in just the general atmosphere, right? The
right,
water cycle is always going on. So it's also going on our hair strands.
right. So yeah, and what she said is absolutely correct. That once you get it into the protein area, it will evaporate. And in order to correct that or help us maintain that hydration in the hair, that water, what can we do?
So we definitely have to seal in the moisture, right? Because the opening and closing is what's allowing the water to evaporate and leave. So
Mhm.
when there's a deficit, right, more water leaves than water coming in, that's when you start to experience dryness, which can also lead to breakage because those proteins are missing what they need. So you want to make sure that first you hydrate your hair so thoroughly that less of it is leaving, more water is coming in than is leaving. And then you want to seal the outer layer, right? Because those other molecules are not getting into the rest of the layer. So you want to seal the cuticle layer with water-based conditioner so that less water escapes and then you maintain the hydration inside the hair strand.
Okay, that sounds absolutely great. So let's just do a recap, and just in case someone just popped in so they know what we're talking about. We're going on a journey today about water, how water deeply hydrates the hair. That's our topic. We're here today is Roselee Mathu. Roselee is very good at this particular subject. We've known each other for a long time. And so we've been educating you all today. So let's just recap. So we have Roselee have identified that hydration is water, and that what happens is that water enters the hair strand starting with the cuticle. So in order for the hair to hydrate, the water, if you're looking at the graphic we have here, the water has to enter the cuticle, which is the outer layer, and it travels into the cortex, which is a deeper layer. And that is where all the magic happens. What I mean by that is that's where true hydration begins. The hydration does not begin until it gets into the cortex areas. And if you continue to look at this photograph, you see the yellow squiggly lines, which are your protein areas. So in the cortex, it binds to the proteins inside, and that is what true hydration is. And the proteins absorbs it like a sponge. But the water alone is not enough. What I mean by that, the water is hydrating the protein area, but the water will escape unless you seal in that water, and that becomes sealing in the moisture, which is product water-based conditioners work really well. Now you can use a light oil as well on the hair, but you got to know what your hair is capable of. I mean, there are certain conditions where you wouldn't use oil, and I'll talk about that more in a book that I'm putting together, my deep hydration guide. It's a lot to talk about in just one show, but I'll give you more information about that. Now that we understand how hydration works, let's understand what are some common barriers to hydration. You mentioned it earlier, but let's talk to them about what they can do to address that.
Well, the common barriers to hydration are using heavy oils and things that are going to coat the cuticle, right? Because that's going to prevent the water from coming through. The other thing, using styling tools like heat and whatnot, those are going to cause the water to leave the hair. Sometimes the weather is an issue, right? With it's dry and windy, the climate in the area that you live in could also be an issue. Are there any that I'm missing that you can come up with?
No, not at this time. I think we talked about hard water, but I don't know if it came in this.
Hard water, yes, that's another one.
Okay, so let's talk about what can be done to remove those barriers.
So removing the barriers is done by using a clarifying shampoo, right? So
Right.
a clarifying shampoo is designed to just remove the impediments, the buildup that are on the cuticle, so that the hydration process can begin by allowing that water to come through the cuticles. Because we said earlier that if the surface of the cuticle is being weighed down by oils and whatnot, then that's a barrier for the water droplets to be able to come through, because those droplets are small. The molecules for oils and things like that are bigger, so it's going to cause a barrier. So we want to make sure that the surface of the cuticle is clean so that the water can come through. And so that's why we need a clarifying shampoo, because it's specifically designed to remove the buildup off the hair strand. Then you can apply the hydration process.
Okay, so you start the hydration process all over again. Oh, that's very good information. So one thing I do want to say is that if it's a situation where it's hard water, clarifying shampoo will not remove hard water off of the hair. Hard water put mineral deposits on the hair. Think about it like small rocks on your hair that's very hard. It can't be broken by a clarifying shampoo. There's special types of shampoos that you have to get in order to remove hard water from the hair. So I'll put that in the guide as well, so you can learn a little bit more about that. So with that being said, let's talk about, do you have anything else to add, Roselee, before we move on?
I think the main thing that we're really telling people is that you want to use products that are not going to cause an issue for the water to get into the hair. And that includes using non-comedogenic products, which are products that are specially formulated not to clog the
Got it.
right?
Yes.
So it's important for you to even, read the labels and do your research about what these products are formulated to do, so that you know that they're appropriate for your hair. But if you keep in mind that whatever you're putting on your hair And if you compare how that thing feels to how water feels, you know that that water is not going to get in there if you're feeling the oil or whatever on your fingers. What water feels like, you know it's not going to get in there. So you need water to make sure that it gets through all the layers, and that's how you know that my hair's thirst has been quenched.
All right, it sounds wonderful. Would you like to share your products with us? Because I'm saying you got
So
quite a bit of.
I do. So my product line is called Nomisa, and it's named after my daughter. Her name's Nomisa.
Oh, I love that.
And the reason we actually came up with the product, or we know we needed a product, was because all the clients were coming in with super dry hair. It was so they specialize in locks, right? So their locks would be like stiff, and when you touch them, they'd be like they could start a fire, is what I used to say, right? So the first thing we came up with was the leave-in, the Nomisa Revive tonic, and so we use that for the hydration. From you shampoo your hair properly, and then you use that, you saturate your hair as the sealant. We talked about that. You need something to seal it. So you'll use shampoo, condition, seal, right? Or leave-in. And so this combination of the Hydration Boost shampoo, Hydration Boost conditioner, and the Revive tonic has been a game changer for my clients. And
I love it.
it's doing a great job for our hair, including mine. So it's for all hair types. And yeah, we love it.
Okay. Well, is there any final thoughts you want to leave the audience with today before we close?
I want to say just the same way we started off talking about getting into the deeper layers of the hair strand, correlating to the deeper layers of your life. Sometimes the condition of your hair is a reflection of the condition of your life.
Yes.
And anytime you're projecting anything onto your hair, or you're thinking, man, I wish my hair would do so and so, think about how is your life set up that you're even considering your hair, because usually it's the last thing you think about. So bring those two things together, because your hair is connected to you. And in order to get hydration for your hair, you got to bring it all together. Hydration here, hydration inside.
Okay, that sounds great. I love that. That's beautiful. Before you leave, and before I say goodbye, I know you're working on some good things. I would love for you to share that with us at this moment.
Sure. Yes. So I created the signature lock method, as we mentioned earlier. And so I'm going to have a 90-day program for the signature lock method to walk you through the process of becoming a six-figure stylist with less than 50 clients. And actually, I have a membership, a free membership you can join, and you can just learn about the program before it comes out. And then when you're ready, you can apply if that's you.
Okay, well, Roselee, I want to thank you very much for coming. I loved having you on the show. It was been insightful. I love the fact that you have a signature lock method where you're helping people. You want people to develop six-figure incomes. You want them to relax and learn more about their hair as they go along in life. So I'm going to be talking to you, of course, very soon. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. We'll move on from there. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
You're welcome. Okay, so before we go, I want to leave you with this. Water teaches us something powerful, that real change doesn't just happen all at once. It happens with consistency, with care. Our hair is no different. It doesn't just need product. It needs a rhythm, a routine that helps it receive what it truly needs. Hydration from the inside out. Let beauty flow naturally, just like water. Also, if you're ready to take the next step, get a copy of my Deep Hydration Guide. It's a step-by-step digital resource to help you build a healthy, effective hydration routine. It's now available at naturalbeautyboutique.com. You can catch the replay or share this episode on YouTube at Natural Beauty Boutique, or on Facebook, Wanda Washington, Natural Beauty Boutique. Link will be in the comments. I want to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us at How Deep Is Your Beauty?